Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and it is January 29th, and we are super lucky. As you can see to my right, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Screen left, there's Andy. Yeah, it's a little Brady Bunch. I've got Andy Harkness on. Oh, there we go. There he is, right there. Andy Harkness. Andy and I have known each other for about 25 years, and we worked at Disney together. And Andy started out in layout. I'm going to let him tell you all this stuff, but Andy and I have just been great friends, and I'm super excited for him because he has published yet another children's book called Wolf Boy, and he's going to give us a little presentation on that and his background. And I know we've got some children's book wannabe writers and illustrators and all kinds of stuff out there, and so I think this is going to be really cool for you guys. Plus, it's another aspect of just creating art and getting it out there and making the world a better place and all that good stuff. And Andy's approach to his illustrations in this book is super unique, and I'm really excited about him talking about that. But and the other cool thing is everybody knows that I teach Photoshop and Photoshop drawing and painting and all that stuff. It was Andy. Well, I keep pointing the wrong way. It was Andy that taught me. So he's the king. So there you go. So anyway, I do want to mention real quick that Nick is posting a link to pre-order Andy's book, and that's going to be in the comment section. And then for this weekend only, if you use a promo code WolfBoy, you'll get 25% off any of the tutorials or brush set at creatureartteacher.com. So I was just telling Andy I'm totally riding his coattails this weekend. So it's going to be great. So hopefully you get a big surge in pre-orders too. So, Andy.
Well, thanks for doing that. That's awesome.
But so we've got Dustin here. He's mining the controls on this end as usual. And then we got Nick in Sarasota, soon to be Orlando, eventually. He's had this house for 2 months now. He still hasn't moved. But anyway, he's going to be in Orlando soon. But he's in Sarasota, and he's going to be posting questions up here as well. But like I said, we've got Andy here, and he's going to be doing this presentation. So I want to just start out. Before you do, I just want to start out, Andy, with let's just talk about what we used to do at Disney and kind of how you got started and all that kind of stuff. What's your background, man?
Well, like a lot of artists, I think. Hey, thanks for having me, by the way. This is awesome.
Hey,
awesome
this
to
has
see
been
you.
Great. We were just talking about how COVID has kind of screwed things up, but Andy and I haven't actually seen each other for probably 4 years. And so it's nice to actually get on the camera like this and talk.
No. I like a lot of artists, I can't imagine doing anything else almost from day one. You know, it was always drawing. In my room growing up, still lifes were set up. It was a complete mess in my room all the time. My parents let me do that, and I'm kind of grateful because for me, it was a wonderland. For everyone else, it was a complete chaotic mess in my bedroom. But you know, just loving art. I had a fantastic high school art teacher who actually has I dedicated this Wolf Boy to her.
Oh, right on.
Miss Elam. So in Starkville, Mississippi, she won this huge Disney Teacher of the Year award. I think it was 1992 or 93. And just an incredible teacher who I'm still very close to today. But so that she was a huge influence. And I went to Columbus College of Art and Design. And at the time, my whole goal was children's book illustration. That's all I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
But Disney came and presented. I think it was Bill Matthews. Remember Bill?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he came and presented for us.
Yeah. And he presented early Pocahontas tests, and he showed the opening sequence of Lion King, and it was incredible. And I would love to say that I wanted to be at Disney my whole life, you know, but in all honesty, I kind of jumped on the bandwagon with all the other students. I'm like, this sounds great. Let's try it. And it turned into an incredible job. It's been almost 28 years now in the industry. But I remember meeting you in Florida.
Right.
Must have been 1993. I was an intern.
So it's been 28 years. Yeah.
28 years. Yeah.
Holy
you were already a legend then, and all of us like, it's Aaron Blaise. Oh my God, incredible.
I look like I look like I ate that Aaron nowadays.
But yeah, I think it was 10, 12 years later, we had a chance to work together at Disney.
Yeah.
On a show. And still to this day, that I don't know how much we could talk about it.
Oh, we can talk about all of that. King of the Elves and all of it. Everybody knows all about it. But but you went into layout, which when we did Brother Bear, when Bob and I did Brother Bear, you're one of our star layout guys and just really created some amazing work. For those of you that don't know what layout is, it's the step after storyboarding, where it's basically the cinematography of the movie. Those artists are responsible for creating the background, telling the animators where the characters are going to be, the whole camera flow, all that kind of stuff. And Andy was really great at that.
Yeah, I do remember there was in layout, the coveted thing was to do a workbook. That was really where the cinematography was. And
right.
I finally got to do a workbook on Lilo and Stitch. And then I remember coming in, you and Bob and Chuck called me in and said, we want you to do the opening sequence of the movie for Brother Bear.
Yeah.
And I was staying as cool as I possibly could on the outside, but I was screaming. I mean, it was just still one of the greatest days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were a great, you were a great artist. No, you're a great artist. And you were back then too. And we just knew we were handing it off to the right guy. And that's why, over the years we've stuck together. And when I transferred out to California, I guess you had picked up work at Sony. And then we managed to get you back to Disney again. And we hooked up for King of the Elves, where you were going to be the art director. And then I just remember that's where I decided I needed to start learning how to do Photoshop. And so you started showing me the ropes on, like, how do I make another layer? And so you'd come in and sit with me and show me the basics. It was great.
Well, I think that sums it up. I showed you the basics maybe, but you took it to a whole different level.
Oh, but it was cool.
I remember there was a painting you did of an elf that was really wide. It was a horizontal painting.
Oh yeah,
it was a beautiful painting. And I'm a firm believer in that you can do thousands and thousands of drawings for a movie, but one great painting or drawing can really sell it.
Yeah,
yeah. It's and that really did. I think that was got me excited about it. And that set the style for everything. The tone of it.
That was a fun project. I wish we could have seen it through fruition, but But
life goes
on, and now I always tell everybody, life takes you in directions that you don't expect. But I've always ended up in the place that I should be, and no matter how I got there, it's the place I should be. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but here we are. And so I love where I'm at, and I love where you're at, and I'm sure you do too. So why don't you? I know you've got a lot to talk about as far as the book goes. So why don't we transition into that a little bit?
Okay, sure. I'm going to say really quick. I'm currently at Sony and I'm art directing on Vivo.
Yeah, you don't have to make it quick. We got plenty of time, so just take your time. Yeah,
right, cool. And I was telling Aaron before we started that Rajah Deakins is connected to the project. He's coming in to really advise on layout, cinematography, and lighting. And it's like going back to school with this guy. It's all these conventions that I've learned over the years, in terms of lighting.
Yeah.
It kind of was a rethinking process of look at these photographers, and a guy named Alex Ross, who's a photographer and cinematographer, where the shadows just get really, really deep and dark, but everything in the light is very colorful, holds the color. And why can't we do that for animation? There's almost like an underwritten rule or unsaid rule that we have to light things a certain way. Color has to be a certain way, and as long as it supports the story, that's really what it's about. So I'm really excited about this.
Now that we're seeing other studios kind of popping up, getting films out there, whether it's 2D or 3D, I think we're starting to see a bit more variety, like you're talking about, in that art direction.
Yeah.
You know, you look at stuff like Wolfwalkers and Klaus and all that, and it's, you know, it's completely different than anything we were doing at Disney or DreamWorks or Pixar or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But that's what's going on now. And in the meantime, let's see, I'm going to do screen share. Tell me if this comes through. You guys can see it.
There we go. Perfect.
Got it?
Boom.
Okay.
Bada bing.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Wolf Boy and the origins of it. I think the making of it is maybe more interesting than the book itself. I don't know. Maybe maybe the same.
The book is great. But I was able to read it in a week. So there you go.
You're getting better, man. You're really improving. But this idea, it really started a while ago, and I'm going to kind of get into the origins of it. But let's see here. So this little video, everything was done in clay, like Aaron mentioned, and this shows a bit of the process. I wish I could actually sculpt this quickly. It would make things go a lot faster. But everything is done by hand. I use the tools really for the fine details and carving out mouths and things. I try to use my fingers as much as I can for all the shapes. These were for a giveaway we were going to do, and unfortunately they all shattered in the mail. So I use a different type of clay now. Yeah. And let's see this next one.
Are those all on glass?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're all on little pieces of glass. Let's see, let me put the next slide. Okay, here's another one. This, I had my son film it. This is the very final few marks of the final clay illustration. And it just shows how much, how obsessive I am,
wow.
Basically. With the detail and everything. There's a lot of clay in my wife's beautiful kitchen table that she's not happy about. But and all right, so this is all about the making of Wolf Boy, and this is a presentation I did to a group of librarians actually a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun to do. It all started in 1981. So my dad, he loved libraries, and he basically lived in them. And every Sunday night, my sisters and I would go to see movies in the library. This is in Pennsylvania, in State College, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And they were always old movies, David Lean movies in black and white. One of them was Wolfman, and I loved it. And I remember walking home that night, and there was a full moon, and I was howling and running around the trees and scaring my sister. And that's really where the idea, I think, started for this book. So 25 years later. Now I'm at Sony. So I've already done 10 years. I've known Aaron for about 10 years. And I'm working on a movie called Open Season. But the ideas for this Wolf Boy book, and I've always wanted to do a children's book, started to brew in my head. And I had no real story other than a fish out of water idea of this. He's a little wolf boy, so he has to work in a carnival or a circus, but he really doesn't want to. And what he really enjoys is cooking with the circus chef. And he's always doing that, and they can't ever find him. And anyway, it never got past that idea.
Wolfus Maximus, I love it.
Thank you.
These are great.
6 years later, this happened. And these are my little angels, my two boys. And they are beautiful. I love them very much. But when they're hungry and we miss a meal, this crazy transformation happens with them, and they literally become this overnight. I'm sure you know that, Aaron.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Being a dad. Sorry,
my granddaughter's that way now. Yeah.
So this is where kind of the idea really began to form for it. So I went back, I took a look at this. At the time, I was working on Moana and doing a lot of the location designs in clay. So I took a quick pass at that illustration in clay. Now, this is not appealing by any stretch of the imagination, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do, and it brought out, it gave me some ideas.
It's super cool.
And it's very dark, and it still kind of stayed in that theme. Around that time, I got a book agent, which is really important, I think. you can self-publish for sure, but I struggled for years, and we can talk about that a little bit later, before getting an agent and really having the help. These were sketches I did on an Amtrak train crossing the country to see my mom, and I brought them back and pinned them up. And I don't know if you've felt this way, Aaron, but sometimes when I do rough sketches, the heart of it's all there, and then I mess it up later when I refine it.
Absolutely.
So always keep these handy to go back and look at kind of the fresh take on things. And this is the very first kind of dummy pass of the book. It's a dummy book, which has all the guts to it and the story, and it's what we would put together to show a publisher to get them excited, along with some final illustrations. And some of the illustrations of the book are very similar, 22, 23, 24, 25. They're almost exactly like that in the book. And so I worked up a little quick sketch of the cover, and kind of harking back to that original black and white Wolfman, I want to go monochromatic, add just a tint of brown to it to give it a bit of life.
Yeah.
And then blue pops off brown beautifully. I love that. This little wolf boy, this little design was done very quickly and not meant for anything really, but this is what Wolf Boy became. I kept coming back to this guy. He looks funny and angry.
Yeah.
And when you can laugh at someone who's being angry, there's something kind of funny about that. I don't know why.
That's true.
Aaron, if you have any questions, stop me as I.
Oh no, this is great. Keep going, and well, also, people will ask questions afterwards. Okay. Yeah, because I want to talk more about. I want to talk about this. Keep going. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling. Keep going.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So we were getting ready to ship. My agent was super happy with it. We're getting ready to send it out to publishers, and at the last minute, which I tend to do sometimes, I had a complete change of heart on everything on the book, visually. I went for a walk in the woods and saw these leaves and took pictures, and I did these paintings of them and used them to do an illustration. And I redid the whole book like this. This is what we sent out. And in all honesty, it was crickets. We didn't hear anything back from anybody. The minute I sent it to my agent, I knew it was the wrong approach. And I got going back in this direction again. They're very patient. And that turned into this. So this was now taking that idea and turning it into the clay sculpt.
That's super cool.
And
I never knew you even dabbled in clay. I mean, had you used clay before?
I think the very first time I tried clay was during open season, and for the director Jill Colton, I did a little Wolf Boy clay sculpture and gave it to her as a, thanks for having me on the show gift. And I think that was the beginning of it, really.
Wow.
But I never thought of myself as a sculptor. I mean,
right.
Remember Tony Cipriano and those guys? I mean, it's just
a
whole different level. Okay, so that we can go through this part pretty quick, but making an illustration. So you starts with a sketch, not always this fleshed out. I'm showing this particular illustration because this took about a year to do this one page, mostly because of reworkings. This is the very first attempt at the sculpt. Second attempt.
Wow.
Third attempt. And as I'm doing it, I'm realizing I'm not having any fun at all, Aaron. And, if you're not having fun when you're drawing, it's going to come out in the drawing. And so I kind of rethought it, just thinking shapes, just trying to keep it very, very simple. And this took about 3 minutes to do. And that's the heart of the redesign. So this was, I got a fancy projector, and I projected down on glass and sculpted this thing. Yeah, it's kind of a slightly different way of doing it. These are some of the details just to show the scale for some of these things, another work in progress. And then photographing it. So I can tell you, I'm never 100% happy with anything I do ever. And even looking at this, I think the lighting on this is better than what's in the book. And I want to rework it, but.
Well, I want, just real quick, I'm going to interrupt again because I get a lot of people talking about, that ask me about, when they talk about having the drive to do something, or when do you know it's done, and all kinds of questions that are kind of geared and wrapped around exactly what you're talking about here, and you're demonstrating how you do it and you do it and you do it until it's right, and you do it because you love it, and and I just find that super, super inspiring because just what you were just talking about, how the design and the look and everything, the feel, how you weren't happy with it and you wanted to go back and fix it and go back and change it again until you had it right. And I love that drive, and that it's just what sets you above the rest. So it's really cool.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, it's also like it borders on insanity, I would say, because I could get in a spin cycle on something, you know?
Yeah.
So luckily, these things have deadlines, which really help
Yeah.
corral things back in, or I would literally continue to go. I'd still be working on this thing.
Yeah. Well, just the idea of doing an illustration in clay too. That's another. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of followers that we have out there that would never think that. Oh, wait a minute, I can do an illustration in clay. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what's kind of neat about it, and this shows the whole process really from the sketch all the way through. What's neat about clay is, as hard as I work, Aaron, I can also be very, very lazy. So things like perspective and getting the lighting just right on things, sometimes that can, you know, if you're trying to get an impression down on paper or a painting, sometimes those technical aspects can stall the creative process. And that's where my stuff gets stiff and I kind of lock up and freeze up. So with clay, it is so quick and it's so tangible, and feeling every little piece of it as you're making it. The things you get for free are the lighting on things, the dimensionality of the clay. You know, there's not a lot of perspective in these particular illustrations. They're pretty flat to page.
Right.
This shows just cutting everything apart and beginning to paint it.
Yeah,
so I love the things that kind of annoy me, I get for free.
Yeah, you're photographing and bringing it into Photoshop and coloring in Photoshop.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where it really kind of begins to take form, take life. And again, I wish it were this quick in real life. That would be nice.
Look at that.
I think it was Brother Bear that I started working in Photoshop. There was one computer on the 3rd floor, and I used to sneak up there and
wow.
I can't remember the head of layout, but I wasn't supposed to be away from my desk, but I still snuck up there.
That's amazing.
Someone's asking, thanks, is that air dry lay?
Is it what?
Is it air dry?
Air dry clay?
Lay? Yeah, clay.
No, it's all these sculpts, and I'll grab one from the closet here in a second. I'll get this one. They're all still wet, and I mean, I could smush them right now if I wanted to, but on Bug Zoo, I cooked all those sculpts, and they were great. I photographed and everything, but they're so fragile they fall apart now. So
it'd be cool. I mean, it'd be cool to see your other works as well. The Bug Zoo, right?
Yeah, Bug Zoo.
Yeah. That one was awesome as well.
Yeah, that was a fun one. But it was different. I was learning. I was really learning and afraid to let the clay be the star of that one.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of covering it over with color and paint and so I have the whole thing here, and I'm not. Yeah. So I was thinking, Aaron, if it's okay with you, I can actually read the book.
That would be super cool.
Okay.
Because we actually have a lot of kids that watch, and this is going to be a special treat. That's super cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have pie, I would recommend getting some pie and maybe some hot chocolate.
There you go.
Kind of a must companion to this book. So this is the cover, the US version of the cover, and this is the UK version.
Oh, cool.
Slightly different, which is kind of fascinating. It's just different tastes in publishing and cover. And this is the Dutch version, Wolfie.
Hey, Wolfie.
Which
Wolfie.
I love it. That's coming out a few weeks after the US edition.
Very cool.
This is the inside hardcover. So if you take off that cover jacket, this is what's wrapped around the actual book. Oh. And in the inside jacket, dedication page. So there's to my family and to my high school art teacher, Miss Elam. I hope she's watching right now. She may be. I dropped off a copy of Wolf Boy to her about a month ago. She got hers.
Oh, cool.
All right. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. The moon was full. Wolf Boy stomped beneath the shadowy trees. He was hungry. Rabbits, rabbits, where are you? He howled, but the rabbits were nowhere to be found. Wolf Boy splashed across the murky creek. He was hungry and huffy. Rabbits, rabbits, where are you? Wolf Boy climbed up the creaky old oak. He was hungry and huffy and drooly. He needed rabbits. Rabbits, rabbits, where are you? And on every page you can see the little rabbits running. They don't look too afraid. Wolf Boy slogged through the soggy bog. He was hungry and huffy and drooly and growly. Rabbits, rabbits, where are you? Wolf Boy leaped across the steep ravine and marched into Moonberry Meadow. He was hungry and huffy and drooly and growly and fussy. Rabbits, rabbits, where are you? He howled, but the rabbits were nowhere to be found. Wolf Boy yowled and growled. He clomped and tromped. I don't need you anyway, rabbits, he roared. Suddenly, there was a rustle of grass. Wolf Boy froze. A twig snapped. Wolf Boy's eyes sharpened. Then he saw two long ears, a furry foot, and a cottony tail. Wolf Boy crouched low. One by one, little rabbits hopped out of the shadows. Wolf Boy opened his big, snarling snout. He was drooly and growly and fussy. Rabbits, where have you been? You're late for our feast. Oh, Wolf Boy, the rabbits playfully said, we made you a moonberry pie. Wolf Boy gulped. Then he crunched and munched and gobbled and gulped. Rabbits, I was just so hungry and huffy and drooly and growly and fussy. And don't forget Howley, the rabbit said. They're all imitating him down here, little turkeys. But now I am happy.
Aww, I love it.
And I don't know about you, but I've certainly been in situations where I'm just off, man. I'm just not feeling myself that day. And when you have a good friend who can kind of see over that and knows who you are, you know, and loves you no matter what, that's what the rabbits are, really.
That's awesome. And for you to be able to read that to your kids must be amazing.
It's a lot of fun. I've read them so many versions of it. I think they're a little tired of it now. It's like, I have a new version. Can I read it to you again? No.
No, Dad.
And speaking of the kids, someone's asking, have your kids ever accidentally wrecked an important piece of art?
Yes, they have. I found very mysterious clay tool marks in one of my sculptures. In fact, it was that. I'm going to get it. I'm going to grab it really quick. Oh, please.
Yeah, because I remember when the stories of when I was little, I was trying to help Mom with her stained glass with the hammer.
Oh yeah, I remember that. you just.
Oh really?
Yeah, he was just smashing her glass because he was trying to help her with her stained glass.
That's so helpful. I'm sure she loved that.
Oh yes.
So this is the one. I think I had just finished this thing.
Wow! And, look at that
for the cover.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I came in and there were these very suspicious marks down here in the grass, and one of the trees had been cut out. And I saw that one of my sons was making a little wolf boy out of it, the piece of clay that he had stolen.
We got a question here. How long would you say a single piece takes to do it in the way that you do it?
If I don't count all the preliminary work, because most of these sculpts I did twice, at least twice.
Yeah.
And if I start with, and I know exactly what I'm doing and then right through, it takes about 6 to 8 hours to really do. Not that one. This one, even if I knew exactly what I was doing from the start, would take 3 to 4 days to do that one, just because every leaf I'm making with my fingers, shaping and putting down.
Yeah, I love seeing the fingerprints and everything in there. That's really cool. Yeah, it really gives it that,
I've often wondered if that'll
handmade feel.
You know, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I learned at Bugs Zoo, you know, as I went back through and edited things and scaled things up, fingerprints would get huge. in the book. So I made sure to really lock in scale on this one before I went in. So everything is 1-to-1,
right,
with what you see.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's really cool.
And another quick question.
Got lots of claps coming in all over the comments. Very cool.
Why would different countries that speak the same language have different book covers? Sounds cool.
I would love to know more about that. I really would. And if anyone from Bloomsbury is listening, maybe they can post it. I think it just comes down to a certain aesthetic that different markets respond to.
Yeah.
I think in the U.S., the big face, to see his face big on the cover really jumps off the bookshelf.
Yeah.
And I know for the Dutch version, they like the original idea, smaller, and same with the UK. It's a great question. I really wish I knew more.
Yeah. We got a YouTube question. Andy, are you going to do any courses with Aaron soon? Hey, there you go.
Aaron?
Well, there's a demand. See, I told you. Hopefully, yes, if I can talk him into it.
I would love to. I would love to. And in particular, children's books, because, it all seems great. I have this book and I'm all excited, but there are so many, I had so many failures getting to this point where this book was put out, and so many no, not going to do that book.
You know what? Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, you don't have to go super deep into it, but I do want people to understand the work that goes in. It's not just, because so many people say, "Hey, how do you become a director? Hey, how do you become an animator? Hey, how do you become a children's book author?" It's not like you just sat down and started illustrating and wrote out a story and said, "Here, publish it." It's not that easy. And so, I mean, what did you go through? Just in a, just tell everyone what you went through.
The most important thing is really asking how much you truly love it. If it's in your blood to do it, because that's what's going to get you through all the rejections, basically, which you have to be prepared for that. That's the big thing. If you wake up one day and say, "I really would love to do a kid's book, I want to give it a shot," that's a challenging place to start from. It really is, because to love it, because what might happen is if you get your first rejection, which will happen, then you're like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. On to the next thing." So my love for kids' books, really since second grade, is has driven me. But I've done so many versions, even of Bug Zoo and Wolf Boy. I've got about 6 other ideas that have been percolating over the years. They've been in my head for 15, 20 years. And I'll just talk about a couple experiences I had, that I learned from. So maybe someone can learn from it too. Carter Goodrich?
Yes.
Okay. So we worked together on Open Season, and I became a good friend with him. And he was kind enough to give me an interview at a publisher in New York. So I took an early version of Bug Zoo there. I flew to New York with my work, super excited. I just felt like I was going to leave with a book deal, and it was all going to be great. And they were very nice. I won't mention the publisher, very gracious. I remember walking into the office and seeing covers of books that I loved as a kid, and like, oh my God, Yeah. And I went in, she was really, really nice. And she goes, "Your art is beautiful. But and this was back maybe 15 years ago. The market for kids' books right now, one-off books are not doing very well. We're looking for series, we're looking for training, learning books, things like that." And my heart sank, because I thought, well, wait a minute. I fell in love with Where the Wild Things Are. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And you're saying no kids want one-off books anymore? And it's impossible. I walked out, you know me, Aaron. I walked out kicking the ground and feeling sorry for myself. And
I'll show you.
It took another 15 years. And, so that was my first experience. And then another time there was a small bookstore in Santa Monica that evidently had someone who was connected to the industry. And someone suggested I take all my work there. So I did. And 3 or 4 months went by, I never heard anything. And I went back in there and I said, "You want to tell me anything?" And they said, "About what?" And they'd taken it and put it right under the desk and never even looked at it. Again, I stomped out. And, and I kind of shelved it. I got a little frustrated. I gave up a little bit, and that's about when I came over to work with you guys, Aaron. That's
Yeah.
my life became King of the Elves and Disney and art directing, and I really sidelined that all. And I don't know, maybe 10 years later, Disney had this in-house animation children's book. John Lasseter basically would pick a book, and Pixar had a program like that, and so did Disney. Everyone submitted ideas, and Bug Zoo, my first book, got picked, which was an incredible day.
Yeah.
And but I'd never been much of a writer. I tell stories through drawing and painting, and we brought a writer on to write Bug Zoo. So I had the premise. Lisa Wheeler wrote it. I illustrated it. That was the very first one out of the gate.
Wow.
So I would just say, man, if anybody doing it, just don't. I mean, this sounds cliche, but don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, it may take a while. If you love it, it's gonna come. It's gonna happen. It's gonna bubble back up.
Persistence. We got another YouTube question. How did you find your agent?
I looked at for a couple. I had friends who had agents, and I reached out to those agents, and I never heard back, or I'd get, no, we're not taking anybody new. This particular agent, she contacted me. I think she found my work through my website.
Oh, gotcha.
And she was at that time beginning to kind of ramp up and pick up people.
Wow. Just as I'm going to do a real quick reminder, this weekend only, use the promo code WolfBoy, and you're going to get 25% off any of the tutorials and brush sets at Creature Art Teacher. Because we've got Andy Harkness here, for those of you that missed the beginning, who is the author of Wolf Boy, his latest children's book, and Andy and I have worked together for years and years at Disney, and we're just I'm really happy to have him on today. This is an interesting one. For those of you that don't know, Andy also art directed Moana, and this question is related to that. If I were to apply to work as a character designer when you were art directing Moana, what would you want to see in a portfolio?
Wow. Okay. Great question. And Aaron, you probably can answer this better than I can, actually.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the art director, it does have a lot to do with the character design and all that, but we all kind of, directors and character designers and art directors, we all kind of work together in achieving that look, and then the art director is really responsible for maintaining that through the course of the film, both artistically and technically. Am I explaining it right?
Yeah. And I've never been much of a character designer myself, but I'm starting to really enjoy doing it now.
Yeah,
getting a little confidence playing around with it. But what I always was drawn to with the character designers at Disney, wherever I'm working, I'm thinking of like Joe Mosier in particular, and Bill Schwab, and some of these great. They've been around for a long time. They've done some great stuff. Carter, Goodrich. It's more than just the shapes and the pose and things like that. But when you look at the eyes of that, even a little rough drawing, you can sense the personality behind that character. And sometimes, like, you have this wonderful character design, but it just feels hollow, like that you can't feel the personality come out.
Right.
So that's what I was always drawn to. And I do get a little bit geeky into shape language, like and it has to be driven by story. So let's say one world is more square, one world is rounder, then maybe the character designs can kind of follow those same guidelines. So the character can fit in that world you're designing.
Right.
And that's about as far as my worlds really overlap.
Right. Yeah. That's great. YouTube comment. I would love a children's book course. It would be interesting to learn how to do it. Art direction too. So there you go. There's two for you to do for us.
Wonderful.
YouTube question.
Right.
Did you set out the plot and text of the story before you started to illustrate?
Yes, absolutely. And that's that's really important. So in terms of the steps of importance, and I mess these up constantly, but I know what the steps are. I just don't always do them right. It's come up with a really great premise. Make sure you know what the story's about. And that's where I can mess up all the time. So in a sentence or two, what is the story about and what does that character want? Those two things are very, very important. And then making sure when you flesh out those two sentences into the story that it still holds true to that original, those two sentences, just like a finished illustration should hold the magic of that first sketch. Very similar.
Yeah.
What was the question? I got blabbing, and
do you set out the plot and text of the story before you start to illustrate? And then it's basically, I think it's a lot like the dummy that you were showing earlier in your presentation. You kind of do a dummy book, and I think that basically I think covers that question.
Yeah, absolutely. And that little dummy book is similar to the workbook we did in layout. So it's kind of figuring out where the camera, just at a small thing, how the character is going to flow to page, and if it's going to work with the words.
Yeah.
The more setup you do, the better off you are in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's absolutely true. It's like thumbnailing for animation. It's all the pre-planning, right? So, when sending submissions to publishers, what do you submit? A full dummy with sample pages, or something different from that?
A dummy. I think a dummy book. So it's like a PDF of, check out how many pages generally are in children's books. I think it's, I'm going to mess this up, 32?
Yeah.
Something like that. I really should know that. I think it's 32. A rough idea for a cover, sketch it out, get all the words on the page nice and legible, and make sure that your grammar is correct. That's very important too. You're submitting to editors and they see a misspelling or they missed quotation marks or something like that. It's important to check all that stuff. And that gives them a sense of the book right away, along with one or two examples of what the final illustrations look like, so they can get a taste for it.
Oh, that's great. Dustin, did you have something?
Yep. Is it really key to have that connection to someone in the business in order to have a chance?
Oh, like
if you're
it's
new,
who you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I don't know that it's key, but it definitely helps.
Yeah, that would be exactly what I would say.
I mean, what's key is you having the talent, or the, not talent, I hate that word, but the ability, the strength. Skill. Yeah, you have to have the skills. Because you can know everybody industry, but you don't have the skills, it's not going to help you. So you got to have that skill, and that's going to drive you forward more than anybody that you know. So
yeah, I agree, and that's a great question, and it's that's come up so many times in my career.
Yeah,
I'm really adamant about that. The work should always do the talking. Always. It's not. I don't want it to be who you know. I want it to be about the work.
Right.
And we're as the artists, we're kind of like the supporter of our paintings. We just kind of stand behind it. But that's just the way the world is. It's that's what. In fact, I remember getting in a heated conversation with somebody years ago about what's more important, who you know or what you do. And I was, what you do, who you know. And I ended up in an argument. But but both are true. Like you said, both are true.
They are, but it's timing as well. I mean, you and I came into the industry at one of the best times ever. And, I came in 1988, 89. You came in 94 and, or 95. Or did you say 94? 94.
94. Internship 93. And
93, that's right.
Was hired.
So, I mean, all in the same pocket. So, I mean, that was a golden age. It was when everything was just booming. And so it was, you take that plus getting to know the right people and then working hard at it, something's going to come out of that. So
yeah,
and
and there's never been a better time for animation right now. I mean, really,
I agree.
There's so
with all the platforms and everything, and the streaming platforms and all the studios popping up, and the ability to share animation, through social media and YouTube and Vimeo and all these things. Andy and I came up in animation at a really great time in history, but now is a great time for everybody to participate and show what they've got. When there was no such thing as internet and social media and all that kind of stuff back in the early 90s and late 80s. And so now, I mean, everybody can show what they've got, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, Aaron, about your courses and how they can reach people that might not have capabilities of getting to a college. They might be in a certain part of the world or financially, there's just no way.
Right.
But they can go online, they can look at your courses, and you're learning from someone who knows the industry inside and out and has done it.
And that's been our goal, and it's our goal to pull other people in that can teach the same thing. And so it's a treasure trove, I mean, we've got you on today talking about children's book, an accomplished children's book writer and having them published along with your background. I mean, you're such a wealth of information. So to have you on today, everyone, I think we're really lucky. So it's pretty cool. I like you got a little Emmy. You got a little Emmy award sticking out of your head in the background.
Yeah, I shamelessly positioned it right in the window. You can see it right there.
But you got that Emmy for Prep and Landing. And I know everyone out there has got to know Prep and Landing because it's been on the last couple of years. And you art directed that, correct?
I did. Yeah, that was a great project to be part of. It was Kevin Dieters and Stevie Wormers, who they directed that. I think it was Chris Williams had the initial idea for that, and then they took it and just made it into their own thing. But that was, there's something when you're on a film that has a huge budget and a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Sometimes it can be challenging to get a vision to go through all the way through. You have so much input coming from everyone, so much financial pressure on the show. Then you have a short like Prep and Landing, where there's a much smaller crew. Everyone knew each other really well. Obviously not a huge budget. It was for television, but it was an amazing production. I think everyone who was on it felt that way too.
Yeah.
And the design, I'm an advocate for, if you can, in terms of laying out the overall production design for a movie, if you can do it on one sheet of paper, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
The style guides are incredible, but most people take them and just put them under a desk and never see them again. But one piece of paper you put up, okay, this character, this world is red and orange. This world is blue. These are the shapes. Real simple.
Yeah.
And that's what we did for that show. And it was great. The Emmy was just like the cherry on top of everything. And I think that show won several Emmys.
Yeah.
Matt George got one. The directors did. The story guys did.
That's great. Awesome. That's really cool. You have anything over there, Dustin?
Oh, yeah.
Let it rip.
Have you guys seen the Die Hard children's book? Brilliant.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it turns out somebody has actually made a children's book version of Die Hard.
Oh, right on. Armand Serrano's watching right now.
Hey, Armand.
Yes, he says hi, Aaron and Andy.
Armand is fairly famous himself out there.
He's killing it. He's killing it. Yeah. And he's taken me to the Philippines a couple times with him, so I've benefited from that too. So yeah, we've had Armand. For those of you that don't know, Armand Serrano, Andy Harkness, and myself, we all worked together at Disney years ago here in Florida, and we kind of all grew up together. So it's nice. It's nice to see that we're all together on the screen today. That's cool.
Yeah. Would you be interested in doing an animation film for Wolf Boy? Not computer, but actual stop motion clay in the flat panel look and not full 3D characters.
That's a super cool idea.
Yes and yes. Everything yes.
I bet you already have it in your head.
No, I don't. But I would love, I think that would be incredible. And I agree, like to see it go from the book to like a fully realized 3D, I don't think that would work for Wolf Boy.
But doing it flat like that is a cool idea.
Yeah.
That's
to keep even the backgrounds very flat, almost like a relief sculpture.
But I mean, if you look at Wolf Walkers, it's ironic that it's Wolf as well. But if you look at Wolf Walkers, have you watched that film?
Yes, beautiful.
That flat design of everything works really, really well. It's really cool. And
that's the same designer for Secret of Kells, is that right?
Same studio. Yeah, and Song Under the Sea.
Okay.
Song of the Sea.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
I love seeing it. The studios that take risks like that and push that style. Just go for it.
It's really cool. Yeah, we went out. Nick and I went out to their studio, a cartoon saloon in Kilkenny in Ireland, about 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and it was great because they're in the middle of making the film, and we got a tour of the studio. It's an awesome studio in an awesome little town. I got to talk to them about wolves and coyotes and how to draw them and all that. And you know who was working there was John Walsh. Remember John Walsh from Florida Studio, and he's Irish.
Yes.
Yeah, he was back there working. It was cool. We ran into him.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So
anybody who's listening today from Florida Studio knows that was a special place. It was
very much was our little studio that could here in Orlando, Florida was it was a family. We grew to about 350 people, and it felt like 350 people in your family. It was really cool.
Yeah, I remember I have very few memories, but I still remember them of both the trailer houses.
Yeah, where we had the trailers
all linked together, and then went to the big building that was built later on.
Yeah, yeah.
I do remember all that, and I remember seeing that new building for the first time, and just seeing all the open floors, and my mouth was just dropped for seeing that. Like, wow, this is huge.
Yeah, we used to carry you guys around like little human shields so people wouldn't hit us. Yeah, they wouldn't hit us whoever was hitting us.
I remember that when they were tiny.
Baby gets
I remember the
shot
kids when they were tiny. They had like super blonde hair.
Oh
right?
Yeah, Dustin. Yeah, he looks like a Sasquatch now, but he had these little golden ringlets. It was super cute. What else you got over there?
What was your aha? I can do this. Like whether if it's a book or artistic moment. Like what was your like aha moment of like you can make this into a book or
did you have one?
Or did you have one?
For Wolf Boy or just
just anything in general?
Well, certainly the clay. I had a real aha moment. I mean, it was it was before Bug Zoo, and I finished on I can't remember what I had wrapped on, maybe Tangled or one of those movies before Moana. And there was a little bit of downtime, and I was home, and I was experimenting with the clay. And I did this illustration of a little boy with these tall vertical trees, like cathedrals coming to the top, and he's down at the bottom. He's got a butterfly net. Now, for anybody who knows me, I love butterflies. Hold on. I'm just going to show this real quick.
I've got a bunch as well. Yeah.
These are recent. I just caught these with my dad in Mississippi.
No kidding.
I've been trying to catch all my life. I've been trying to catch it, and I hit it with my car. How sad is that? Anyway,
you son of a.
I got off topic, but I was I was working. I did this sculpture, and I photographed it, put it in Photoshop, just like what we saw in the demo. And I remember actually looking straight up at the sky and saying, "Thank you." I mean, it was like a lightning bolt. Like, this is exactly what I want to illustrate, how I want to draw and illustrate.
Oh, that's cool,
man.
Well, I got a question here. Are you a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators?
I'm not. How do I become that? How does that happen?
They're just asking if you are. You got to figure that out for yourself.
Oh, man. I guess if they ask me, I will say yes.
Well, if they don't, I want to remind you guys, in the comment section, you can pre-order. There's a link there to pre-order Andy's book. So check that out. What else you got? I'm just reminding people. Do you have any more questions over there?
Oh, yeah. Question for Andy.
Oh, there you go.
What was it like to meet Walt Disney?
He's too young for that. He's like 10 years younger than me. I always get that question all the time. Little bastards.
What was it like to ride the dinosaurs?
We did meet Roy.
We did. Roy actually, cool. Roy used to. that's what I always tell everybody. Roy took a liking to Bob and I, and whenever he was in town in Florida, he'd always come out and hang out with us. Come up and hang out with us in the story room because he loved Brother Bear because he made all the nature films back in the '60s and '50s, and the Disney nature documentaries were kind of his baby. So when he would come into town, he'd hang out with us. It was a lot of fun. We got to be buddies.
No, he was amazing. If you smell it with the story, you smell cigarette smoke in the building.
Oh yeah,
it was Roy. Yeah, no one else did.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Roy's here.
Yeah. What else you got?
Do you ever have people not like your work? And because art is so subjective, how do you know if your work is on the right path?
Have you ever had anybody not like your work, and how do you know your work is on the right path?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Well, it's important to have good friends that you can trust and that can be honest with you, in the industry. And
I would tell Andy his work sucked in a heartbeat, but it just never does.
Well, I mean, I've definitely been on shows where I've shown work and there's silence. You know, it's like, and I'd rather just hear, oh, we really don't. It's not, the style's not really matching, but it's tough, you know, in the industry to say that. You don't hurt anybody's feelings, but also, and I get asked a lot too, how do you build a portfolio? How do you know your portfolio is strong? And I always say, look at everyone else's stuff. Look at and not everybody. Look at, like, if you're looking at character design, look at Carter Goodrich and Bill Schwab and Joe Mosher and these. And there are many others. Hope I'm not leaving people. I know I'm leaving people out. If you're looking at background paintings, look at some of the best or the painters, and then really be honest with yourself, objective about your own work. If you don't have anybody that's going to be honest with you, then you have to be honest with yourself about it. And so that's tricky. That's a really great question. Yeah, I wish I could answer that better. Actually,
no, I think definitely
I've been in a situation where people love my work and people that don't they don't like it. It just happens.
Exactly, and it's. I've had the same thing happen with me. The one thing I do think people get hung up on, and you got to, you know, Andy's saying, look at other people that are really successful in the industry and be inspired by them. But as far as, you know, don't compare yourself too much to other people, because that's just going to sink you. You know, compare yourself to yourself from month to month, week to week, year to year, whatever it might be, and look at that timeline of getting better. But if you're continually comparing yourself to somebody else, you're going to drive yourself mad. But be inspired by others that are really successful, for sure.
That's a really, really good point. Yes.
What else you got there,
Andy? Do you still play GoldenEye during break time?
Okay, who's that?
I have.
That's got to be somebody from
Armand Serrano.
Oh, it's Armand.
Well, it just so happens from my 5th wedding anniversary, my wife bought me the Nintendo 64, and it just broke about a week ago. I was about to play with my son, GoldenEye, and I just ordered another one. It's coming on the 9th of February. So, yes.
Do you remember we used to, every once in a while, because I know you guys played it in layout all the time, but do you remember every once in a while we'd go into the theater and play it on the big screen in the theater? Were you there when we did that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a blast. Playing GoldenEye on like a 60-foot theater screen.
God,
we had so much fun. Yeah.
Oh, that was incredible. You guys were patient too, because you and Bob would be doing approvals, and Craig and I and Tom was quiet. He didn't.
Yeah, you know, well, half the time Bob was in there playing with you. I know that.
That's true.
So, real quick, Wolf Boy is available February 2nd, and Nick is posting a link in the comments. So make sure you buy that book. Anyway, Bond was such a big game in that studio, and layout, animation too. I mean, I know Trey Finney was completely hooked on it. Along with a bunch of the other animators. So it was like a layout area and animation area. Everybody was playing Bond, and I think that's the only time I ever got into a video game, because I would play every once in a while.
Yeah, it's funny, and every time we're talking video games, you always say the last game I ever played was Pong. I'm like, no, you played GoldenEye. Come
on. Well, before that it was Pong.
You always skip GoldenEye.
We loved when Aaron would play, because we would just rack up the kills, man. It was
just beat the crap out of me.
It was so fun.
I remember having during the barbecues at our house.
Oh yeah, and
you and the guys would all play GoldenEye on the big screen. It'd
be a beautiful summer day on the lake or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and everybody's in the house playing GoldenEye.
And we're all I remember the rule was whenever somebody dies, not wait till the round ends, but every time somebody dies, they give up their control.
They have to get up and somebody else would come in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because we'd have like 20 people wanting to play.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That and darts.
Oh, darts was huge. Darts was really big. Man.
That's something we don't get now in the COVID time.
Oh, Nick is suggesting, as we're talking, for people that join late, because there's some people that have come in after you did your presentation, can you click through some of the making of images a little bit while we talk?
Sure, absolutely.
We'll just do a little sharing. We can continue talking, and you just can kind of click through This is for the folks that. So for those of you that have joined late, we've got Andy Harkness here today. Andy and I worked together for years and years at Disney, and we both have similar backgrounds, but we're both doing different things now. And so Andy is out in the world. He's an amazing children's book author and illustrator, and he's promoting his new book, Wolf Boy, and which has a really great method that he used to do his illustrations, all done with sculpture. So it was really cool. And so, Andy, as we answer some of these questions, Andy will click through some of his images.
And are there any ideas for your next book that you can share?
Well, that's a really good question. I am working on another Wolf Boy currently. Now, fingers crossed he gets made. And I'm deep in the story. Just when I think I have it all together, I look at it again and I don't like it and I redo it. So that I'm in that crazy process right now with story.
Yeah.
So that's next. But I have another one. My love for butterflies and moths. I mean, I've got a lot of stories with that, which would be a sweeter kind of type of story. I've got one I want to do for a long time. It's called Just Bones, and it might be a different title.
I like the name.
But it's this old ordinary fisherman. He's kind of like my grandfather from Ohio, but he's just a master fisherman. But one day he just keeps pulling up bones. He just can't. That he gets a fish, and all that come up are bones, and then what happens after that? And the illustrations are pretty fun. They're really flat, so it's like that forced perspective where you're looking down at everything.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. And weirdly, I have, you never know where life is going to lead you. And I never thought of myself as a writer. I told you that before, but I don't know, a couple months ago, I was home with my dad and I started thinking about an idea for a book, a book. And that turned into a 3-book kind of idea. So I'm roughing that out right now. And
wow.
Who knows? It's scary. Like I tend to go more kind of horror fringe stuff. But for kids, I love that.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. That's exciting.
So that's staying busy. And then whenever there's time, making sure I spend time with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about them. They'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at it.
Look at Dustin. He turned out all right.
What do you think, Dustin? Did you?
I don't know. I'll figure it out. But Gabby just hopped on. Says, "Hey everybody, I'm just hopping in for a minute because I'm at work. Who's our guest today?"
Come on, Gabby, come in late. It's Andy Harkness, my buddy Andy Harkness. We worked at Disney together for. I'm looking at your computer like that's where she is. We got to know Gabby through some of our workshops in England and here in Florida. So she's a regular. So,
okay.
Hello, Gabby.
Hi, Gabby.
It's Andy Harkness.
I realized that I wasn't screen sharing.
No, you weren't. You were just clicking through stuff.
We see I was
going to be polite and say something, but you just kept running your mouth. So,
well, for anyone who's just joining, this is the inspiration for Wolf Boy right here. And if you have kids, you're hungry, you go through a bit of a transformation like this. That's what my kids become when they become hungry, and that was kind of the idea.
Yeah, for some reason I
remember this whole time I thought I was showing you guys.
Yeah, for some reason I thought I remembered seeing these illustrations, those ones before, the ones where he's the little 2D illustrations that you did. I remember you showing me those years ago.
Yeah, I probably did. Show you that.
Yeah.
And the one thing maybe in common from those to the final is that theatrical lighting. I've always loved that.
Yeah.
That's whether working on animated movies or kids' books, I just love that kind of dramatic lighting to everything.
Exactly.
I do want to give a real quick shout out to my agents who were wonderful. The one who contacted me originally is Ada Nucci. I always pronounce her name wrong. She took the mess of the story of Wolf Boy and really helped me through. She's the one that said, "What is this story about? What does he want?" And patiently mentored me to get it to where it was ready for release. So she was absolutely wonderful. And And Rena Rossner, who is, she was the one that pitched the book to Bloomsbury and got it picked up, and Mary Kate Castellini and the whole crew over there that did such an amazing job with this book and putting it together and getting it ready. The one thing, Aaron, as you probably know, you remember from the old days, is you can do all this work on Photoshop and then you have to print it for a presentation. The prints can look so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing happens for books, and you've got to go through iterations and get these things just right. And they were so patient with me, because I'm very particular with that stuff.
Yeah.
And it came out great. I couldn't be happier with the final.
That's great. Yeah, we're kind of going through the process now, not the same as writing a book, but that you've done, but we're putting together my first art of book, my art of Aaron Blaise, and it's exactly what you're talking about, because I'm going to, you get really particular about how you create a piece of art. You want to make sure it's represented the same way on the paper.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're much more of a digital world now, so it's slightly easier. But when it comes to print, it's so important.
Man, I love.
And we're going to see things. We're going to see things that other people don't see too, that are going to drive us crazy.
Yeah.
Like one little tree that has to be just right. Some of these slides are just the making of, to show for scale and the clay and everything.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. This one, and we talked about earlier, I had taken this just for this presentation, basically, to show and as we were looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, I love the shadows in the clay.
I love the reflection in the water. I love that you sculpted it twice to create a reflection.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was
pretty cool.
Slightly obsessive, but fun. And this is the final illustration for that one.
And for
I'll show these real quick. This is the US cover and the UK cover.
I've got it right here.
And the Dutch cover, Wolfie. Oh yeah, Aaron's got a copy. A copy there.
I'll say it again, an unsigned copy.
I'll get you one. Hey, hold on real quick. So, okay, I have this. Maybe we can just get creative here. I wanted to do a little giveaway today.
Oh, really? That's cool.
For anyone who's watching. And it would be this and a book, one of the books, together. But how should we do it, Aaron? Can we do like a little quick little contest or something? Or
wow, you're putting me on the spot. First of all, that's a super cool giveaway. Yeah, we could do it as oh, that's good.
I have an idea.
What's that?
I have an idea. Can anyone name my very favorite werewolf movie? And it can be any year, any genre, anything.
Let's see. The first one to put it out there. You got to be watching, Dustin.
Oh yeah.
And then Nick's got to be watching. I don't know how we're going to get that because we're on several different platforms. So different people are going to be writing in.
That's going to be challenging.
It is.
Well, I'm going to be focusing on Facebook. Nick is going to have the harder time. Because he's monitoring everything else.
Yeah.
The Wolfman?
No, but good question. Good guess. That was in my presentation, but
3 at once. American Werewolf in London.
There's 3 at once.
Yes, that was it.
The first of the 3 was.
Well, hold on. We don't know if we don't know what platform we got because Nick may have had it on YouTube. No, that was Wolfman.
The first of the 3 that popped up was Hilary da Gravadiga.
Okay,
Diga?
so hold on to that.
Diga?
Write that name down. Write it down. If she's first, then she won.
Whoever it was, American Werewolf in London. Who wrote that? That was the one.
That's her. But there was 3 people that wrote it all at once. But she came up first.
Okay.
I will.
Unless Nick had it on his side, I think we got it over here. That's cool. So we got to get. That's a super cool giveaway, man. That's awesome. All right. So look at that.
So this, little bunny.
Yeah, man.
And see, these are done with different clay. These I've already given away. This is a wolf boy.
That's
but
cool.
This is done with really strong polymer clay that, I mean, it'll last 10,000 years.
Yeah.
Great for the environment.
Yeah. Well, let's. You got the name?
I'm trying to save it.
Have her go to our. How do we get her information, Nick? How do we get her information? It's Hilary de Gravedigga. Wow, great! Oh, Gravedigga. It's Hilary de Gravedigga. I'm going Hilary de Gravedigga. No, it's Hilary de Gravedigga. So that's her handle. So Hilary de Gravedigga, you're our winner. So we need to get your information. Nick, how does she do that? Nick. How'd you do that?
Nick.
And we are coming up on 2:15, so we'll probably wrap it up here in the next couple minutes. But Hilary de Gravedigga, which is perfect because
I know
she won a name like that or a handle like that is perfect for Wolf Boy.
Meant to be. Congrats.
So Nick has already messaged her, so that's awesome. So we'll get Hilary. Right. We'll get your information. We'll pass it on to Andy, and Andy will get you your little character that he's going to be sending off to you. So that's cool. So, do you have any more questions over there? This has been a fun one. This has been a lot of fun today.
Oh yeah, short but a lot of fun.
Look who we've got.
How many times did you have to edit or rework Wolf Boy before final approval?
Many times.
Let's see. Well, the good thing is the dummy book, the original version we sent, they were really happy with. They loved the basic layout of everything, which was good. Because in Bug Zoo, it was definitely, I think I reworked the dummy 2 or 3 times. I really was convinced it was going to be good. My dog might come in too, Aaron.
This is Max.
Jazz, come here.
He's actually 15. He's actually 15 years old. This little guy.
What?
Yeah, he's an old man. Yeah, he's only
got
about
1,000 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Wolf Boy, it was quick. It was pretty. Once we had that dummy approved, we just kind of got into doing the final illustrations after that. It's pretty fast.
Right on.
Do you have any last minute advice?
There you go.
Oh boy, just don't give up.
Yeah.
Just don't give up. And I think don't ever believe the worst thing that someone tells you. You know, that you'll never do this or you'll never be this. You know, that can extend to a lot of things in life. But I remember George Clooney saying that quote one time: "Don't believe the worst thing someone says about you or the best thing someone says about you, because the truth is somewhere in the middle."
Right.
Keep it humble and and have fun. Just remember when you're drawing, if you're not having fun, it's probably not going to come out in the drawing.
Yeah,
big thing.
Exactly. Yep. So, Andy, thank you very much. And speaking of humble, you're one of the humblest artists I've ever worked with, and it's always been a pleasure working with you. And I'm glad we're friends. This has been a really great day today.
Thank you. I feel the same way, Aaron. Miss you, man. It's good to see you.
I miss you too.
Digitally.
And I'm so happy you're cranking these books, man. It's so cool, and to see something so unique. I've just never seen this kind of illustration before, so I'm really proud of you and happy for you and everything. It's just really super cool.
Thank you, brother. Well, I hope whoever buys it, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoyed today as well, hearing about all this. So
after we hang up, we'll get at some point in the next day or two, we'll get you the address information to send out your giveaway. And but once again, for those of you that have been watching or just coming in, go into the comment section and you can see a link there where you can pre-order Wolf Boy right here. There it is, Wolf Boy, that Andy Harkness has created, and it's awesome. And actually, also, you're working at Sony Pictures as well, creating some films over there. Are you allowed to say what movie you're working on?
Yes, working on a movie called Vivo that should be coming out in June, but everything's getting moved because of COVID. It's tricky.
Yeah. Are you art directing?
And I'm working. I am. I'm art directing. I'm working with Carlos Zaragoza, who's the production designer. He's incredible. He's like one of these guys that you don't see his work a lot, but he just does everything. He's just behind the scenes doing everything all the time. It's an incredible team, and Roger Deakins is on board as well, and so that's been a real learning.
I was going to say you're learning a lot. That's pretty cool. So anyway, once again, Andy Harkness, and he's got Wolf Boy, and thanks, man, for coming out. It was awesome, and we will be contacting you to do some courses with us. Because there's obviously out there a want, so we'll do that.
All right,
give us an excuse to get together again once this COVID thing is done, the COVID madness. So,
yeah, can't wait.
All right, well, give everybody a big hug for us. Tell them all we said hi, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, Aaron. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Talk to you guys later.
Thank you, everybody else, for coming and joining us today. It was an awesome day. And remember, go on over to creatureartteacher.com, use the promo code WolfBoy, and you'll get 25% off of everything on the site. So it's pretty cool. The courses and brushes. So you guys have a great weekend. Like I said, we're artists. Go out, put some beauty back into the world, and be nice to somebody. At least put your grocery cart away when you're done with it. And we will talk to you next week. So thanks a lot, you guys. We'll see you soon. Dustin?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Glad you guys enjoyed this stream. Now, if you guys are interested in any wildlife photography, you can check out my Instagram at Dustin_Blaise, where I'm going to be starting to post more photos. Don't worry, guys. And also, over at Creature Art Teacher, you can find some not portfolios, what am I thinking? You can also find some reference photos that I have for sale over there. So be sure to check those out. Thank you guys again for watching. See you guys next week. And as always, Cowboy Bebop. See ya.